Good morning, guys. Just here to talk about our current focus for 5, which is on our behaviour expectations. This is what it looks like on our profile sheet. And although these behaviour expectations will vary from teacher to teacher, we always find that effectively managed classrooms, and probably schools to a bigger degree, do engage with this stuff on a consistent basis. And if you go and observe some teachers who do nail these things lesson in, lesson out, you'll find the atmosphere in that room to be significantly different to some people who don't. Now, we look from prep through to grade 12. There's probably different amounts of time that we need to maybe focus and refer to this sort of stuff here. Simple comparison is a Year 9 science class or a Year 9 geography or maths class. Compare that with a grade 12 math methods class, where there might not be as much behaviour, a lot more on-task work, and the reference to these parts here within our profile sheet and the strategies we have to us are going to be probably slightly different. What we're looking at building on, remember, is just good habits. Okay, so even if we don't really need to refer to the rules, it's good habit to go and refer to the rules and find some key parts in your lesson when that can be done. Next year you might not have that Year 11 methods class, Year 12 methods class, you might have a couple of Year 9 maths classes instead, and all of a sudden you want to have those good habits built in. So just this little chat here, we're just going to talk about the first few on the list here. PBL score, that's pretty self-explanatory, yes or no there, and we're a no, this is just an example. But the next couple that we're going to talk about, rules clear, is probably the one that can cause the most grief for us as profilers when we're doing an observation, especially if our data doesn't back it up. Now, some people will say that it's a real judgment call that we make, and to a certain degree it is, but if we do deem that the rules aren't clear in this case, we've got to have some data to back it up. So other things we've recorded should justify our decision for no. So with rules being clear, there are some key things that we look at, okay, to determine whether the rules are clear. So obviously minimal disruptive behaviour during the lesson. Entry and exit procedures are nice and calm, nice and routine, no dramas there. Rules referred to, okay. We should be able to hear, as I said, teachers referring to rules, even if there's no real need. It's all about that habit that we want to build into our group here. So that's always good to see as well. And also linking back up with the previous focus for 5 section was around our what, why, and our how, particularly in regards to behaviour. Okay, if we're explicit there, we're going to see the impact in class. If we're explicit consistently, you'll see even more impact. Okay, so that's for yes. For no, and this is one that can upset people when we sit down for a reflection session, unfortunately, for us to indicate that no, the rules aren't clear, we must have some evidence and some anecdotal evidence that's going to back that point up. Okay, so we might have some recorded disruptive behaviour from students. And it's regularly happening. It's not a couple of sporadic incidents here in the classroom. Might be some emotive strategies being used by the teacher, which is that red zone section that we want to stay away from. It's never going to be anything good come out of that. Just that increase in redirection where we've just got to tell kids what to do, whether it be directly or indirectly, but just that constant kids needing to be told sort of what they should be doing. Entry and exit procedures, kids coming in, no real order, no real routine attached there. Secondary behaviour, okay, that's another one that we look out for. So where those students drag us into the jungle and just fill us full of uppercuts. We've asked Johnny to stop throwing that paper around. He's answered back, and then we've just gone and shot straight back at him, and that's that secondary behaviour. Again, nothing good can come of that. And those transitions between activities are really unorganised. Kids don't really know what they're doing. We're going to start throwing out those redirections again. Might get a bit emotive with getting them to settle again. So that's basically what rules clear mean. It doesn't mean that they're nice and big up on the wall so everyone can see them. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that basically the kids are doing what we want them to do, and the atmosphere in the room is kind of nice. Okay. Rules displayed. Okay. There's a few different options for type of rules. Every time we go into the classroom, we should be circling school rules because we've got some school-wide expectations there. And it's really important that they are up and they're in a position where you can refer to them, because that links straight into this next one here. Okay, referring to rules is very powerful, and there's only one thing more powerful than referring to them. That's referring to them proactively. Okay, there'll be times where we do need to be reactive with referring to the rules when something happens in class, a student makes a certain choice. But if we can find times in our lessons, such as when we're lining them up outside, to be really proactive with referring to our rules, it's just so powerful, okay? All of this stuff here contributes, and there's a really simple link we can make to the right hand side of the sheet. It's called the profiler's triangle. Once we get to the bottom of this section here, we'll have a separate little video just talking about the profiler's triangle and how that works. But basically, if we get lots of yeses over here consistently, and we're tallying all these rule referrals, that right hand side of our profile sheet, which is where we tally up all of our strategies and the behaviours that the students exhibit, there's going to be a pretty clear link between that left and right hand side of that profile sheet. So that's just the first few. And again, that's stuff that we can chuck straight into a lesson. All this stuff it doesn't take hours and hours of planning to do it. It takes 5 minutes on the end of our curriculum planning, hopefully more, for you guys to just really get this into our lessons. And there'll be some lessons where you don't do parts so good, and some that you do, and that's just part of it, because we're on the pump here with curriculum as well as behaviour as well. But in terms of setting the real solid foundations of our classroom, this is our slab here. This is our concrete slab, and everything sort of comes from here, in my opinion, there. So that's rules clear, displayed and referred to. I'll post a little attachment to this video, guys, on the portal for you guys to have a bit more read over some of these indicators for rules being clear, displayed and also referred to as well. So you can have a look over that in your own time. But Focus 5, we've got another few weeks left on this one here. We move on to our next one. Cheers.